What's going on?
I don't know, man. Oh my god, that was insane. Alright, let's switch over to the right window. Sorry about that, folks. That's probably the messiest intro so far. It's been a mess. Yeah, let's see here. What am I doing?
It wouldn't be the same if we didn't have technical difficulties right at the start, would it? I mean,
It
just would not feel like home. So.
It wouldn't be at all. No, that was
Do we need
insane.
a technical difficulties jingle?
Yeah, I think so. So I have a reason to blame. If you guys can't hear, then I'm actually pretty sick. So if during the stream I get some sort of weird fever dream and start talking about things that doesn't make sense, then you know why. And if I should just like drop dead, you still know why. You can't. No need to worry at all. So
who knows? We could all be a figment of Sarge's imagination. You know.
Indeed. But we did skip the show last week, so I didn't want to do it this week as well, because that wouldn't feel right. But either way, welcome to the GO.Live Gaming Podcast. I sound like the poop word. Hopefully that is okay this week. We are the podcast that talks about everything Anthem, Bioware, and EA. On slow weeks, we don't talk about Anthem, but this week we are actually going to talk about Anthem a little bit. At least we're going to talk a little bit about EA and Bioware, or a lot about EA and Bioware, hopefully. We're currently live on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, and Mixer. If you don't have time to stay with us and interact with us during the live show today, then you're more than welcome to check out the VOD tomorrow. And you can also listen to this in audio podcast form on iTunes or SoundCloud or your favorite podcast app for the smartphones. Also, if you enjoy the show, then please hit us up with an email at feedback@gunsofanthem.com. So today I have Drainos, that's a weird pronunciation, all right? Also known as James with me. How you doing, man?
Hi, man. How you doing, mate?
Not so good, but we'll just soldier through.
Yeah, I think we could gather that.
Yeah. All right. We also have Josh, also known as Chromatism.
Hello, yeah, I'm the smart git over here. You know, sorry, not the smart git. That's the wrong term. I already got it wrong, so I'm clearly not as smart as I think I was. Smart ass.
Oh well.
That's what I was trying to get at. But yeah, hello everybody.
Hello, smart ass.
Thank you very much for the welcome. I can
probably apply that definition to you. That sounds good. We also have Patrick, also known as Raker, with us. How are you doing, man?
Hello, everybody. I'm doing fine.
All right, cool. So today we are going to talk about a couple of UC tidbits. We're going to talk about A Way Out, proving EA wrong. Yeah, it's probably as interesting as it sounds, at least if you like more linear story-based experiences. We're going to talk about a studio update from Casey Hudson, who is the head over at Bioware, I do believe. And we're going to talk about EA saying that Anthem will be different, and it sort of applies to the topic at hand, that the monetization will be good, because I do have my reasons to believing that they can't screw that up. It would be suicide from the things that they've said recently. And there's going to be a couple of other things. I can try to mention them as well, if I just can get it up a little bit quicker here. There we go. I can actually just talk about the small things right off the bat. Also, first off, if you like the Jade Empire game, then and you have an Xbox One, then the game is going to be released there.
Sadness.
For you, because that apparently didn't exist before. There's also EO account on Battlefront 2. If you haven't checked that out, it's probably quite goofy and interesting. And also a quick mention, EA Play is going to be June 9th to 11. Hopefully we can do some sort of coverage there. It's probably going to be some quite big announcements, and hopefully something regarding Anthem as well. So we'll try to see what we can do there, if we're going to do any videos on that, or if we're going to do some sort of stream talking about it. We'll just have to see, and stay tuned for that. It's probably going to be quite interesting indeed. But yeah, let's move over to the first topic of the day, and we're going to talk about A Way Out proving EA wrong. And this is quite interesting because there was some leaked emails from EA where their estimates lied before the release of the game. And we have also got a number on where the releases are currently 2 weeks, roughly, probably almost 3 weeks now after the initial release of the game. And the estimated sales were at 894,000 copies in its lifetime. It's quite a specific number, so I would be interested to see how they estimate these things, but they probably have some sort of algorithm going over there at EA. But the game itself has actually sold over 1 million copies in the first 2 weeks of the game being live. So this means that over 2 million players have played the game, since you need to play that game with a friend or some random. You need someone to play it with, which has blown out the expectations of the game. But that is quite interesting and quite amazing, since EA themselves have said that they don't really believe in the linear small game experience anymore. They are sort of moving over to live services and these big grand adventures. But this sort of kind of proves them a little bit wrong, which I feel is quite interesting. What do you guys say?
If I was a sort of I was somewhat more bitter and cynical man at this point, I'd probably raise my arms in the air and cheer that their expectations have been dashed.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I probably will. Off the camera somewhere. But yeah, I'm actually incredibly happy that this has happened. Just because I'm getting so sick of the monetization, the live services, and particularly the open worlds. I want some really decent stories, and this might just be a turning point. This might just be a corner, especially on top of everything else that probably doesn't bear going into just now. That's also happened lately. So yeah, this is positive. This is really good news, I think.
This is positive, and in more than one way. Not only in regards to the single player campaign experience, or the co-op in this case. Also in other games that we're gonna get in the future, like Anthem, for example, there is this, like, now they've proven that having a good story and the focus on that good story actually sells games, and having a good monetization models actually sells games.
It's like,
so
Shock!
Having a good story actually hooks people more than having grind. Who the hell would have thought that? I know.
Who would have thought?
Mind blown.
I know, right?
Indeed. And it
I
also
think
Was
it's
I the
also-
only? Sorry, guys, go ahead.
yeah, it
I
also
think it's
probably
also-
sorry, Patrick, you can go ahead.
I think it's also a good reflection for EA Originals moving on, so that they have more trust in this new program from them.
Yeah, certainly the EA Originals.
EA Originals moving on.
Certainly
so
does, and
that
that helps
they're-
indie developers no end, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
Well, I say indie, smaller
certainly the
developers.
EA Originals.
EA
It's not as if A Way Out was built by one guy in his parents' basement.
Yeah. Yeah, but I read an article where they interviewed Joseph, which was actually quite interesting, where they talked about a lot of the developers that they have recruited for A Way Out this was their first real game release. So them having the news that after 2 weeks the game sold over 1 million copies must be something out of this world. I don't think a lot of people get that with their first game they ever release. So.
That's pretty amazing, yeah.
Yeah, that is
Plus,
quite something.
When anyone else saw the tweet, was I the only one who had an immediate image of Dr. Evil going, 1 million copies?
I didn't go there, but now that you mentioned it, it makes perfect sense. That's great.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. It's just little things that get me through the day, you know.
Agreed.
But it thoroughly deserved it, didn't it? It absolutely deserved that success. It is a fantastic game. It's got a very good storyline to it that people like, that draws people in. It's got several hooks to it from a sort of game mechanic side. Like, for example, you can buy one copy and then you just pick a friend and they come and play with you, and they don't have to pay for the copy. And you don't have to buy extra parts to the game. There isn't a day one DLC that you really need to get. Otherwise, you're missing half the content. And actually, when you're playing through the game, there's loads of little fun side bits, like all the different mini games you can get yourself into, which are just hilarious. Especially considering the context of what you're doing in the game, that you suddenly decide, oh, I'm going to do this instead, which is completely unrelated.
Yeah.
I've heard some people call that immersion breaking or filler, but I actually found that was a really good little diversion on the side. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Saj, we didn't play Connect 4 though. I'm very disappointed in our inability to play that game.
Yeah, well, we fool around quite a lot in those side games.
True.
And I mean, the game overall, just the more that I think about it, the more of a special place it holds in my heart. So it's just growing on me, and yeah, it certainly had a lot of flaws, the game itself, but it was. I couldn't say that I didn't enjoy almost every minute of that game. So can certainly recommend it if you haven't played it. It's really enjoyable.
Certainly from a technical aspect, you see parts of it when you're playing the game and you just realize this isn't a AAA game. This isn't made by a studio of 150 developers. That's very clear. But other than that, solid game. Well done, and kudos to the guys who put it together.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see what Hazelight actually makes next, since they are sort of like Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons was this game where the mechanics, we hadn't really seen that before. Hazelight, the forced co-op, we haven't really seen that before either. Of course, every aspect of that game wasn't unique, but they are sort of meddling with some quite interesting things there, which I do quite enjoy myself. So, yeah.
Can I also bring up just a little aside, again, not just for linear games that might have a leg up, but also I've played lately, obviously with A Way Out and certain other games. I've always loved co-op, always adored co-op games. It's been one of my favorite sort of things to play and do. But it's like back in the day, these days when you find a co-op game, it usually just tends to be everybody's sitting around with everybody's got a shared objective, but the only real co-op aspect is that you're all playing at the same time, trying to accomplish that objective, probably usually with guns. And we're actually starting to get experiences now, again, which we used to get in the era of 16-bit and on, where we've actually getting proper co-op experiences where you've actually got to play off each other. And to me, that is the most rewarding type of co-op play you can have. So if this continues, if this trend continues, yeah, that's also fantastically positive as well.
Yeah.
I think.
Indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice to see co-op mean more than just here's more bad guys to kill.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to look at Far Cry right now.
On a side note, was there ever any other game that forced co-op?
I haven't
You guys
played one.
remember?
I was trying to come up with something, but I can't from the top
I
of
have
my
never
head.
seen that before.
Define forced co-op.
Like the co-op.
So that you
co-op
don't have a single player option.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you mean. I mean, I've played co-op campaigns and games that are totally separate to the single-player game, but are still sort of give you part of the story. I'm thinking of Splinter Cell Chaos Theory there, but I'm not. Yeah, you're right. I don't think I've played a game that's only co-op. Actually, now that you mention it, that's true.
Yeah.
Isn't Team Fortress 2 only co-op?
Yeah, but it's
In the way that that's
cooperative multiplayer shooter. It's a slightly, it's not.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a different one.
Yeah, fair point now.
Yeah. All right.
Cool.
We're going to leave it there, and we're going to move over to the studio update from Casey Hudson. And this is a blog post over at Bioware. And this is quite interesting itself. Like, we've had a couple of dropouts that have been sort of troubling when it comes to the development of Anthem and what it actually means. Like Drew Karpathian, for example, which is an excellent story writer. He worked on the Mass Effect trilogy, among other things. And that is certainly a loss for the product that is Anthem. But the studio head, I think he's the studio head. Yeah, he's the studio head now. Casey Hudson. You can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments or in the chat about that. He made a blog post, and he's back since last year about around the release of Andromeda. He got back on the company, and he's talking about that The company itself has been going in weird directions, and it hasn't really had a clear path. And in this blog post, I'm actually going to read it, and we're going to talk about it a little bit in chunks. So he starts by writing this: Humans, it's going to be an exciting year. There's so much going on that I wanted to set up a blog where I can share some thoughts and news with you directly. This is the first entry in a series where I'd like to talk about our vision for Bioware, what it means for our upcoming titles, and share some stories about development as we head towards the launch of Anthem. I started at Bioware 20 years ago. I worked on several titles, most notably as the producer and director of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic and the Mass Effect trilogy, so this guy has some good experience in his bag. A few years ago, I took some time away to try something different. I had an amazing experience working at Microsoft on mixed reality and the HoloLens, but the Great White North called me home once again, and I was offered the opportunity to return to Bioware as general manager, not studio head. Sorry about that. The idea of leading the company that I was part of building for so long and returning to work on the game worlds that I love was one that I couldn't pass up. When I returned to Bioware last summer, Mass Effect Andromeda had just been released, and there was significant movement along players asking for a story DLC that would answer questions surrounding the fate of the Quarians. As you know, we were not able to deliver the story DLC for Andromeda, and this was frustrating for us, was as frustrating for us as it was for our players, and it's something we knew we had to solve in future games. So this is the first little pit stop that I want to do along this little blog post here. I read an article from Kotaku where they investigated what actually went wrong with the Mass Effect Andromeda and what on time ultimately led to where the game's the poor states of the games or the flaws of the games became its downfall. So Andromeda was effectively in the development for 5 years, but by most accounts, Bioware built the bulk of the game in 18 months. Basically, the only thing that was done before those 18 months was the multiplayer and the combat and like the vehicle stuff. Because at first, apparently, Andromeda was going to be this huge procedural open world with thousands and thousands of planets, sort of like a No Man's Sky, but in the Mass Effect universe, which is an idea that, from the top of my head, I was like, really? They were going that approach? I don't see that working. But apparently they didn't either. So after three years of development, they scrapped that idea and they started to work on a more traditional approach, I guess, where you wanted to have a Mass Effect story, and the leadership those last 2 years was apparently there was no direction on where they went with everything. Everything was sort of this little own bit that they tried to scramble together, which didn't make a consistent, cohesive thing, which is probably why the game itself felt so messy. And also the animations team apparently had a lot of layoffs during the last 3 years of development, I think. And that might be a reason why the game itself became a meme because of its bad animations. But at the end of 2015, Mass Effect Andromeda's least realized that the procedural system wasn't working out. Many of the gameplay mechanics, the combat, as I said, the multiplayer, the driving were on time and proceeding smoothly. But yeah, the story, the levels, and the cinematics weren't done. And having that done in 2 years and making a game around that is crazy. So yeah, I feel like I don't know had you guys heard about that before? Had you read up on it?
No.
No. All
Can't
right.
say I had.
The fact that it was going to be almost like No Man's Sky as a Mass Effect game sounds like absolute pure madness. I'm not
Yeah.
surprised they did a backpedal.
I'm
Agreed.
surprised
Sky.
that they thought a procedural generated world in combination with a story can even work.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. Like, apparently they were really excited during that development process of just trying to make that thing work. But at a certain time, they realized that this wasn't working, and a lot of people started to drop off the studio, um, and it became basically just it caved in on itself, and then we got what we got in the end.
Are you saying that Bioware was hemorrhaging partners, developers, middleware companies?
Yeah, they lost small developers like on the animation team and a little bit of everywhere. They lost people. I don't know.
Oh, you mean actual employees?
Yeah,
Not
employees. And
Right, okay.
on the animation team, apparently they didn't fill those positions after they were dropped, which, yeah, or not in time for it to actually matter.
Is pretty much all I've got to say to that. Just
It just sounds like they were originally trying to just strap on somebody's pet project game concept onto a world that people know, so therefore it might have been purchased. It doesn't sound like a Mass Effect project at all.
No.
To begin with.
Yeah, slight dodge. But the Mass Effect Andromeda argument has been done many times, and we could talk for hours about what went wrong and what they didn't do and what they should have done and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But that's not what people want to hear, I expect.
Yeah.
But this update from Casey Hudson, reading it, did you guys sort of get the impression he was being like, I was away, now I am back, everybody rejoice, for I have returned?
Sort of, but then again, the golden years of Bioware was during his direction, so
it's true.
Yeah,
fair point.
So
I actually believe him. He's more sincere. He could have just leave the part out with the whole Quarian quest thing and the Mass Effect missing DLC. He didn't have to mention it. As a PR stunt, the first part would have done the job. But I think the last part is a bit of sincerity from his point of view, and it seems like he's gonna be more open, but that's just hoping.
Yeah.
Sometimes I am positive.
But this is half devil's advocate, half I think he totally did the right thing, and also what you were saying, James, as well. Yeah, when I read this, my feeling on it was that by mentioning the screw ups that have happened lately at BioWare, he's sort of he's at the same time distancing himself from them and trying to open a new chapter in BioWare's story. That's exactly as you were basically mentioning. I got that feeling. So yeah.
It's a new beginning, a new chapter.
Let's hope that would be awesome.
A new IP as well.
Yeah. All right, so there was actually some more text that I want to talk about in that blog post that is certainly things that is promising, at least for Anthem. Like, Casey came back to BioWare when Andromeda released, so I don't think he even was able to do anything about that sinking ship. But he goes on as follows. That experience with the story DLCs for Andromeda and all that experience ultimately became a defining moment in refocusing BioWare's mission. We need to delight players with new experiences and innovation, but we must stay focused on the importance of the world, character, and storytelling elements that players expect from our games. And our games must be designed to continue delivering new stories and experiences in an ongoing relationship with players in the worlds we are evolving together.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's,
like he's basically just writing what everybody wants to hear. Yeah, we were really good at the beginning. We were lost for a little bit of a time, and now we're back. Basically, is what I'm taking from that.
The prodigal son of BioWare.
Yeah.
Just imagine typing that while singing Amazing Grace in the background.
Indeed. There's one sentence there that I want to focus a little bit on is regarding to Anthem. Since they have stated that it's going to be a 10-year project or a service, a live service, we can call it that, I guess. And our games must be designed to continue delivering new stories and experiences in an ongoing relationship with players and worlds we're evolving together. That is great if they have this approach where the storytelling, the characters, and the world is in having a really big importance in the development of the game, and actually the continuation of Anthem. That is, well, I hope that is going to be true, because that certainly sounds like it's the direction that I want the game to go.
Yeah, absolutely. If they can build a universe that people are invested in, and a universe that people are excited about, and then they build out, they flesh that universe, and give people more and more through the game series, through the story arcs, then that's brilliant. And that's one of the things that Mass Effect did really well, with unlocking more of the galaxy and allowing you to explore out.
Agreed. All right, let's see. We can read the last thing of the post as well. In that spirit that we are working through production on Anthem, a game designed to create a whole new world of story and character that you can experience with friends in an ongoing series of adventures. It will be unlike anything you've played, but if we do it right, it will feel very distinctly Bioware. So he's, again, popping off some grand words there. It will be unlike anything you've played, which
Remains to be seen.
think I also included in the thumbnail of this stream. So those words will probably be something that I'm going to keep. I'm probably going to write them on the wall here or something like.
We're holding you to this, Casey.
Yeah,
How do you
really
realize
holding
this
you to.
now?
Never played a game where I jumped into a big armored suit full of weapons. Oh wait, Titanfall.
Wait, hang on a minute.
Yeah, indeed. But then again, he's stating also that it will feel distinctly Bioware, which I hope. I really, really hope. And yeah, the end of the post just says that next time we'll talk more about our updated studio mission, and that it's helping to focus our work on Anthem and the games that will follow. So we'll probably get some more blog posts from Casey in the future, which is nice. Like, we were talking about public relations last time, and we were talking about this guy on the forums. Help me to recall his name. Is it Barnes? No? Or what was he called? The guy who's talking about with people on the Reddits about Anthem.
Sorry, Brennan Holmes.
Brandon Holmes. Brandon Holmes is doing
Holmes.
he's doing a great job over there. And now that we have Casey back, and he's showering us, I was going to say, with golden words, nothing else that is golden. Then I'm just like we were talking about last week. This is more what we want to see. We want the people like doing the games. I guess that Casey's not the little guy that was talking about last week, but we're still hearing from people on the in the company developing the game about their vision and all of that. And I feel like this is what we need to see more of. I want to see even more people over at Bioware talking about their experience and what they want to see out of Anthem and how it is to work on the game and all of that. But we'll also, maybe that's going to be a part of the PR experience that we're probably going to experience now after EA Play or E3. I don't know how EA is going to work on the advertisement campaign on that. But we're not that far off, people. We're certainly not that far off.
I think the only way he could have started better with that whole, with his new blog update is fellow humans rather than humans.
Yeah, I reacted.
For I am no human, I am a god.
Yes.
but it really cracked me up, just because of.
It's good to know it wasn't addressed to my dog.
Yeah,
that's right. That's true. We do need to.
If it was, that would have been sad.
Got that in first word. I knew he was talking to me. I'm a human. I knew that. I was invested in what he was speaking about.
Well, no, that's the thing. You see, you're not thinking of the big picture. If it's a game unlike anything we've ever played before, I mean, if it was aimed by dogs, sense of smell. It's a game played through smell. You never know.
Wow.
I know.
Mind blown.
You heard it here first.
Again. Second time in 30 minutes. But no, it is great to actually see something come out that's got a sort of a more human side to it. rather than just the endless marketing department blurb that's been redone again and again and again, and
Yeah.
that you could practically write yourself.
Yeah, basically. All right. Not sure if there's too much else to talk about that other than to rejoice and hopefully take him for his words. If not, we're going to bring our pitchforks and our what is it called?
Burning
Torches.
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 I never leave home without them. I've always got my pitchfork and my torch. It's fine.
I have a stack of 10 in my bag.
Imagine seeing Josh going to the store and buying groceries, standing there with his pitchfork and his torch.
Stand aside.
Yeah.
Yes.
I need my tomatoes to throw at peasants in the stocks.
All right, that actually moves us over to the title of the stream, that Anthem will have good monetization. I can probably, or no, I'm not going to scratch probably, I can assure you that EA can't afford another Battlefront 2, certainly not with what they've said recently. So when this whole Battlefront 2 debacle happened, then we were let's see here. All right, sorry, I'm a little bit slow in my head today. I feel like I'm excused.
You don't need to apologize when you're suffering with the flu. Sarge.
Yeah. So
Thankfully, it's not contagious over webcam.
Yeah.
I don't know. Has science proved that? You should be wary. You should be wary. All right. So what I was saying was that EA has before said that during Battlefront 2 they were making these excuses and excuses and excuses as to why the monetization was as it actually was. And the excuses weren't valid, and people called them out on it, and now they're starting to back down. And now with them actually redefining or remaking the monetization game in the Battlefront 2. So with this, they also need to start apologizing for what they've said before. Basically, no, not really what they've said before, but the way that they constructed the monetization system in Battlefront 2. For one example, was like we can't make like custom appearances in Battlefront 2 because LucasArts doesn't want us to, which apparently was bull crap, because now they're introducing a lot of appearances and focusing a lot more on appearances. We're probably not going to see the pink Vader that everybody wanted to see, but still, they're shifting focus more towards that, and I think that is actually quite interesting. And they also were making excuses that I think it was like something of the similar sorts of this needs to be there because it pays for the game and all that, whatever. But now, today, this is where we need to focus on, and this is where it's important, because they've done a 180, and Patrick Sutherland, the head of EA, said the following: "I'd be lying to you if I said that what's happened with Battlefront and what's happened with everything surrounding loot boxes and these things haven't had an effect on EA as a company and an effect on us as a management," he explains. "We can shy away from it and pretend that it didn't happen, or like they did. Or we can act responsibly and realize that we made some mistakes and try to rectify those mistakes and learn from them, or that you sort of got caught with what you tried to do and now you need to cover with that and come up with a better plan." Next up, next up, he says, "We had the intent that it was designed for us to have more people play it over a longer period of time," explains Sutherland of the decision to include loot boxes. "And like a lot of other games on the market, to be able to afford to do that, we had an idea of getting returns from that. But at the time, we got it wrong. And as a result, we had to take very quick and drastic actions to turn everything off. And we've since worked and redesigned the progression system. People seem to appreciate what we've done. Players are coming back, and we're seeing stronger engagement numbers. People seem to think that for the most part, we got it right. It doesn't mean that we will stop. We will continue to improve the game. We'll continue to push on these things. and will have to be very cautious with what this means for future products. We have taken significant steps as a company to review and understand the mechanics around monetization, loot boxes, and other things in our games before they go to market, he says. For games that come next, for Battlefield and for Anthem, players have made it very clear that we can't afford to make similar mistakes, and we won't. So there you have, good people.
Can I just ever so quickly, when you got to the part about the people think that we got it right, I was watching James's expression. That was exactly my expression when I was reading through it.
You mean that they didn't get the redesign of the monetization of Battlefront 2 right?
I think they had two options, which was continue the way they originally started out or go the way they did, and thank God they chose the right way. But yes, they got it right. The only other way is to get it so horribly, horribly wrong they wouldn't have actually done anything at all.
Yeah.
And even then, I mean, the getting it right is arguable because it's on such a crap. Excuse me, it's on such a bad. It's on such a bad basis for a progression system anyway. I mean, the fact that you can be somebody who's like 4 tiers ahead of you in a certain star card has 100% more accuracy or damage than you do. Well done, EA. That seems great.
Yeah, I mean, there was so many flaws in that system, and I think we've talked about that to oblivion. But the positive things here is that, from what they're saying currently, is that they're learning from their mistakes. And we have Anthem. Don't be like that. Come on. We have Anthem on the horizon. We have Battlefield on the horizon. We have other interesting titles on the horizon. And that can only be positive for those games, and especially for Anthem, that we want to follow and cover, and we think is one of the most interesting things right now. So, as they said, we can't do that same mistake again. So, the monetization system in Anthem will obviously be a good one. And also, this can tie us into what Chrome showed me earlier today about Netherlands actually putting the sort of banhammer down on 4 games, I think it's currently, that has loot boxes in the game. But they said that it is gambling, and these games need to remove that feature, or they won't be able to sell that game in the Netherlands anymore. We don't know which games that is actually referring to, and apparently they went out with warnings to a couple of other games as well. Now, that is interesting. There's actually being repercussions from this whole thing. Like, if EA hadn't made this mistake... Yeah, if EA hadn't made this mistake, we wouldn't be here today, where a lot of government officials were actually looking into the practices of these things. But now we're actually seeing the repercussions, and I think this is only the beginning.
That's the most positive thing that's come out of the whole debacle. Is great.
Yeah.
It's amazing. There's actually some legislation over gaming, and it's good legislation, not terrifying, ignorant legislation.
So at present, the Netherlands legislation is the fact that currently these 4 games, which, as you say, Taj, have not been named, though they have said that if these games within 8 weeks do not actually sort of come down to meet their standards, they will name them. That's harsh words right there. But the fact is, these particular 4 games fall under the rules for gambling as they currently stand in the Netherlands. And about the other 6 games, they've said that while they are not officially classed as gambling, they still contain the same addictive qualities. They're still built on the same framework. I forget the exact words used, but to paraphrase, that's what it was. They're still built on the same framework, which is especially damaging to children who are still, their thought patterns are still forming. Therefore, they could turn them into addicts. And there's probably some science to back that up somewhere. I don't know. So it sounds like this is only the first step, is how I would read this. They also talked about, they've mentioned that certain games, or the media in the Netherlands has mentioned that certain games that might be part of the 4 are Rocket League, of all things. And you know what? The others completely escaped me, so I did my homework, everybody.
Am I correct in Am I correct in
But
thinking that the ones that weren't named could have possibly been things like TF2, Dota 2?
that's it. Because we're looking at the Steam Marketplace, and there are actual ways for you to cash out money for items that you can gamble for or acquire through loot boxes. You can sell them for money on the store, and they actually have a marketable price. So, as you say, Dota 2, TF2, CS:GO, PUBG, oddly enough, on the PC, and I'm sure there are others as well on Steam that all do this. So, yeah, it's interesting times to say the least.
It certainly is. Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly interesting times. Although, let's not forget that when one country makes legislation over gaming, that doesn't always translate out. If I'm correct in thinking, I believe, Patrick, you can probably correct me on this, but Germany has put in quite significant legislation over the amount of blood and gore that can be displayed in a game, which very much has not been picked up
We
elsewhere.
had a lot of bans because of that, yeah. And they also said they're talking to other governments, so I definitely think they're in contact with Germany, and I think they're gonna if another country they're in contact with is gonna do other legislation or similar to that, maybe being a bit more aggressive, I think they'll also adopt that in the way they worded the article.
But it's but it's also worth remembering that we're not talking about, because this is very old legislation. This is from goes all the way back to games that weren't even online when that bit of legislation was put in. We're now talking about games that are intrinsically linked into a store system, onto servers, into multiplayer. That's not something, unless you just sort of put a digital wall around the Netherlands, that's not something you can just cut out of a game without affecting everybody, surely. I wouldn't have thought so anyway.
Yeah.
Who's going to pay for the wall?
Yeah, well, obviously the Dutch. I mean, but still.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just children that this legislation has got to protect.
Absolutely.
There's vulnerable adults and whole sectors of society that have very specifically had gambling legislation written down to protect them from the gambling companies and gambling addictions. And games are now no different. You're spending money on a chance to get something which you can then sell for money.
Yeah,
it's utter gambling at its very core definition.
And funnily enough, a final thing is that, like, not too long ago, and I forget the actual the name of the game. So obviously this is high journalism here, but there was a game in the States. In the USA, that was recently classified as a gambling game, and therefore, had a load of legislation put on it. But here's the weird thing about this: is that this particular game in question, it was a mobile game where it was portrayed as a casino.
Yeah,
but
that was an interesting one.
Yeah, but you couldn't actually cash your money out, so it looked like a casino, but it wasn't a casino. You could put money into it to buy chips, and you got free chips every day, so it was a free mobile game. But you couldn't cash out. But the United States have said, well, that's a gambling game. And how is that different from Overwatch and every other game that has loot boxes? Tell me.
Yeah.
And on only a half-related note, for two games that are banned and censored in Germany, it's Postal, for example, is banned, and Left 4 Dead 2 is very censored.
Doesn't it have green blood instead of red or something?
It has no blood.
Oh, no blood.
They just disappear.
Oh, that ruins the entire experience.
And
out of interest, what happens when boomers explode? Sorry,
not
Patrick,
much,
what happens?
Except for goop, not much.
Right.
All right, so you don't get the massive explosion of acid and crap that goes everywhere. Yeah.
No, there is definitely no spine.
Well, you little snowflakes will be well protected then, won't you?
The Wolfenstein is pretty heavily censored in Germany.
Yeah, all swastika removed, and it's not Hitler as the final boss. I think it's some sort of soldier.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And in Hearts of Iron 4, his portrait for the German version or on the German copy has been removed. It's just a silhouette, So, yeah.
Really? Out of interest, how Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, that, without wanting to spoil too much, that had Hitler in it. And it wasn't too flattering.
I would never have thought that it would have Hitler in. How could you?
It wasn't too much of a flattering picture that they made of him. Let's put it that way. I'm not sure how that got censored.
Since the old days, I'm gonna call it, of video games, they have been more lenient. But I haven't played the game, so I can't really tell. But I think
They're censoring him.
Yeah. Germany started censoring Patrick now.
God damn it!
Sorry, you went robotic. They're censoring you, Patrick. I'm sorry.
It's the
They
government.
wanted the stream.
No, just what I said is they are more lenient nowadays, and I think they are either censored a minimum or not at all. But I haven't played the game, so.
Alright.
Yeah, fair enough.
Alright, interesting. There's also one little thing that we can mention before we go over to the last segment of the show. We're probably gonna close up a little bit earlier this time. Hopefully, because I need it. I think. But the last little news is that the Bioware store, where you can buy merchandise, Bioware merchandise, is currently, in a while, let's see here, at the end of April, the store will close for a little while, and then it will go up with a new store partner, so it's probably going to be something similar. But why this is interesting is that if you want to spend your money on Bioware merch, now is the time, because they have heavily reduced prices, because they want to, I guess, remove all the stock that they have with their current partner. So it's there's a lot of discounts there where you can go and buy Bioware merch, which is quite cool. They do have some jackets and sweaters and all of that with the N7 logo this is actually pretty sweet, pretty cool stuff. So I can recommend you to go over there if you want to buy some Bioware things.
I played Mass Effect when it was cool.
Yeah, indeed. When you said that, it made me remember when I accidentally found Mass Effect. I don't remember how, though. I haven't heard about it at all. I thought this was like, well, at the time, it wasn't the big deal that it is today. But at the time, I hadn't heard anything about it, and I think I stumbled upon it somewhere, and I bought it. Like, this looks a little bit cool. I can try this game out. And I don't think I had an experience similar to Mass Effect 1, how a game out of nowhere blew me away as much as that game did.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
amazing that you went into that blind and had an experience. I think that's great.
Yeah, it certainly was. Like, I didn't have no expectations of the game, and the story blew me away, the world that they built and all of that, and there's certainly some shortcomings in Mass Effect 1, like I think Mass Effect 2 did a lot of improvements when it came to combat and how the different skills worked and all of that, but at the time, Mass Effect, that experience was, it was amazing.
Yeah, they gave us cover-based shooting mechanics. You
Yeah.
walked into a room and it was full of waist-high walls
Yeah.
and desks in neatly oriented rows, and you suddenly thought to yourself, I think I know what's coming.
I think my biggest criticism of Mass Effect 2 was when it was first released with just a few graphics cards, one of which I owned. They accidentally, on the title screen, forgot to implement an FPS lock. Now, I've now discovered what happens when you forget to implement an FPS lock. I lost a £300 graphics card for which BioWare was in no way liable. And it wasn't just me, there are several people where this happened before they
Damn.
patched it. Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah.
It hurt,
Console
that hurt.
gaming.
All right.
All I had to endure was really extended loading times.
Indeed.
My loading times are very fast, and then it died. So,
All right, with that said, we're going to move over to the last segment of the show, which is called Tell Me What to Do Until Next Week. And in this little segment of the show, we just give you something that you can do until the next time this show is going to go live, which is on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Central European Summertime, I've just learned. So, yeah. Until then, we are going to give you suggestions. So let's start with Patrick, my man. You haven't been speaking as much as we have this show, so I'm going to give you the first word if you want to.
he's being
Yeah, I
censored.
have two recommendations. First one was what Sarge said in a previous episode, the Origin Access. I got it and started playing Batman Arkham City, and I'm enjoying it, and it's really cheap. And the second thing, my own recommendation, is Ahead in Time. I recently started playing it, and it's really a love letter to the GameCube era and to platformers in general. The game is like maybe 15 hours. It's lots of fun. It has much charm. And if you find the Steam Workshop, you can just clock in like 30, 40, 50 hours because there are so many huge and brilliant levels inspired by Mario Sunshine 64. Yes. It's an amazing Kickstarter. Ukulele may have had 3 million and was a mixed game, but Ahead in Time only had 300,000, and it is a great game.
Yeah. Yeah, because they brought out the map editor not long ago, didn't they? And there's loads all
Yeah,
of a sudden.
they also have a contest for map editors, $1,000 for the best map.
That's cool.
Wow.
I've been
like
teetering
that.
on picking that up for a long time, so maybe now is the time.
You should.
Yeah.
You definitely should.
Yeah.
I like community created contests. That's always cool. All right, James, my man, do you have something for us?
Yes, I do. And I usually like to try and keep these cheap or free. But this week, nah, sorry, because I've been having too much fun with Far Cry 5.
Yeah, I've heard
Honestly,
very
it's
split
been-
opinions on that, but it's
For me, leaving aside all the political arguments, an Ubisoft sandbox has not been this good since the original Assassin's Creed, in my book.
Completely agree.
It is such a breath of fresh air when it comes to that sort of thing. You don't have to go climbing up huge, great big tall spires to unlock parts of the map,
Yeah.
which made me so happy. And that there are, I mean, as has been mentioned on our previous episode, the quality of the side missions are just brilliant. It's really not a game that you get bored in.
All right,
It's a game where you suddenly look at the clock and realize, crap, I've got to go to work in 5 hours. Time for bed.
All right, great. Yeah, I've seen a little footage of that, and that's one of my biggest gripes with Ubisoft games overall is that they apparently think that you can't think for yourself, so there needs to be a small little indicator for everything. It's just it throws me out of the immersion so much. I want the opposite. The less I know, the more immersed I probably usually
And oddly
am.
enough, I turned off a load of the settings for stuff like enemy silhouettes and that sort of stuff. I had much more fun doing that, personally, but still, you know.
Yeah, it becomes just like a checklist, and I don't like that in games.
Nah, exactly. I agree with that. Certainly agree with that. All right, Josh.
Okay. Well, for Sarge's benefit, I'll try and keep this quick. I'll try, honest.
Thank
So first things first, on Netflix, if you have access to Netflix, I've started to watch. I got 3 episodes into the remake, which is now a series of Lost in Space, which is a 10-part series, and it's phenomenal for the first 3 episodes. Apparently, it's good all the way through. And in terms of quality, think really good family Spielberg. It's great.
Yeah, I'm really
High
interested
praise.
in that one.
Highly recommend it.
It looks amazing.
The other things I would say is that very, very small Monster Hunter update. If you haven't played it and you're remotely interested, jump in. They've just released a huge event, which you're not going to be able to play now, but called... Oh, you know what? You talk about your brain today. Anyway, they've released a huge event. Basically, they released a new monster. They call it a Siege Mode, which is basically this huge... The Goddess of Gold, who basically is a giant dragon goat. Don't ask. It's great. It's marvelous. It's a 16-player raid, effectively, that you can keep going over and over, and it is wonderful content, and very, very rewarding. Yeah, I think that's me this week. So Monster Hunter and Lost in Space.
All right. So while I am like I am, I can't really do any heavy stuff. I can't really consume anything heavy. So like I've been getting back into World of Warcraft a lot, and I can say that if you're at least a little bit interested in Battle for Azeroth, which is the next expansion coming out this August, then please go back into Legion and check out the game, because it is really good. And I feel like if you are at least interested in Legion, or ever had any interest in getting back to World of Warcraft and the Legion expansion, then now is the time, because now you probably have enough time to actually grind through everything, like with mounts and all of that, and all that stuff, so that you can get all of that stuff before Battle of Azeroth is released, because there's some stuff that is going to be removed. There's always those things that are exclusive to that expansion that you can't get. So if you want to, then get back in that trap. I'm gonna call it that trap now. There's also
The WoW
one thing.
trap.
Yeah, season 2 of My Hero Academia.
Academia.
yeah.
Yes.
It's a anime, and it's very typical superpower anime stuff, and I freaking love it. It's my biggest dweeb pastime. The animes like that, like if you like Naruto, and if you like let's see here, do I have another
Bleach.
sort of Bleach, yeah. This is so easily to watch, and I usually don't like the humor that much in the Japanese stuff, like in anime and all that. Just doesn't usually get to me. But the last episode that has been released of My Hero Academia is actually had me laugh frequently, and pretty loud as well. So it's not only silly and superpowers and superheroes all over the place. It's actually quite funny. So if you're like me, you need something that is really easy to take in. That is an excellent choice. If you
On a side note, season 3 just started.
was it season 3? I was thought it was season 2, but yeah,
It's
season 3.
probably not
Yeah.
season 3 on Netflix yet. You know, that'll be later.
Yeah, yeah. I'm watching it on Crunchyroll. So
Oh,
I watched the
Crunchyroll.
first
Yeah.
2 episodes of season 3 already.
Yeah,
Still
I watched.
great.
I watched them. I think I watched episode 2 today, actually. So, yeah, I loved it. It's really good start of that one, and it's probably going to be something that is going to be interesting for a while. So, yeah, check that one out if you're at least a little bit into anime.
Double recommendation.
Yeah. So that's actually it for the show today. A little bit shorter than usual, but I do think you can understand why. If you want to interact with us, we're on all the usual social medias and all of that, and you can just message us and we will reply. You can also send us an email to feedback@gunsofanthem.com. And of course, the VOD will be available on our YouTube, and only our YouTube. I'm going to change this a little bit. I'm going to upload the podcast to Facebook, but a little bit in another graphical format, sort of like the last episode was uploaded to the Facebook. I think that is a little bit interesting to have a couple of options there. So if you want to watch our beautiful faces when we talk, it's going to be YouTube. If you want to listen and watch other stuff, it's going to be Facebook. If you would just want to listen, then you are going to go to iTunes or SoundCloud or any of your podcast apps of choice. And that is it for the show. Now I'm going to tumble over and die.
We'll resurrect you before next week.
Bye,
Yeah,
Sarge.
thank you.
Pretty good mercy. Bye.
Yeah. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye.
Mercy, mate.